morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the Inside NASCAR. We're just outside of Concord, North Carolina at Team 34. This team fields the Royal Oak Charcoal Chevrolets, which are driven by Mike McLaughlin, and also the Stanley Tools Pontiacs, which are driven by Todd Bodine, both in the NASCAR Busch Series. We'll hear from Todd a little bit later on in the program. The NASCAR Winston Cup drivers and teams are at the Pocono International Raceway for a 500-mile race this afternoon. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series ran yesterday afternoon in Erie, Colorado. Tyler Potter is in our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. He'll look back at yesterday's race and preview today's race. Good morning, Tyler.
All right, Ned, good morning to you, and good morning to all of you. The Winston Cup gang is back in Pocono for the second time in 6 weeks. The Pennsylvania 500 is at 1 o'clock Eastern this afternoon. Stay tuned for more on race 18 of the Winston Cup schedule. We'll also look back at Ron Hornaday's third truck win in a row at yesterday's Colorado 250. It's all straight ahead on Inside NASCAR. Who needs a Hollywood script as Todd Bodine and Randy LaJoie are starring in their own version of Trading Places? We'll sit down with the top Busch Series contenders to get their take on their back-and-forth battle for the points lead. For years, the Busch Series has been the stepping stone to Winston Cup, but the Craftsman Truck Series has created a new kid on the block. We'll take a look at whether the two series are equal in terms of money in part 2 of our series on NASCAR purses. And we'll also talk to Napa truck driver Ron Hornaday, who in the last several weeks has finally turned things around to look like the defending series champion he is. Those stories and much more today on Inside NASCAR.
Inside NASCAR is brought to you by Milwaukee's Best. When you're looking for a different breed of beer, unleash the beast. Milwaukee's Best. By Texaco Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by the UAW International Union and General Motors Corporation. Assembly line to finish line. Teamwork wins.
We're about 3 hours from the start of today's race in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Can Jeff Gordon make it 2 straight at a track some drivers call the Bermuda Triangle? Or will defending champ Rusty Wallace be back in victory lane? Our Phil Wirth was there for the first race. He's also there for today's race. Phil?
Thanks, Tyler. Believe it or not, it's going to be cool with temperatures in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees for today's Pennsylvania 500. Record-setting qualifier Joe Nemechek, Front Row Joe, will be alongside in just a moment. But first, this was supposed to be the Winston Cup debut of Busch Series rookie Steve Park. You know, he came here just a couple of weeks ago and had all the confidence in the world after testing here at Pocono, but Steve Park will go home with his Burger King car disappointed he didn't qualify for the Pennsylvania 500. Did the boss man have any words of encouragement for you?
The boss man, you know, he's a little disappointed like that we didn't make the race, and he's no more disappointed than I am of myself. And you know, he just said the same thing. He says, "Keep your chin up." He says, "You know, if this was easy, there'd be 80 cars here trying to qualify, and we just gotta go home, evaluate what happened between testing and qualifying here this weekend, and go to Watkins Glen and pick it up."
In other news this weekend at Pocono, Bobby Hillin has taken over for Billy Standridge as driver of the number 78 Haynes Ford. This would have been Hillin's first race since the Pocono 500 last month, where he finished 37th in the number 77 Jasper Motorsports car, but he failed to qualify. Jeff Bodine apparently has a buyer for his team. Reports say Bodine has lined up a pair of businessmen who are already starting to finance the team that's been struggling money-wise and race-wise this season. Bodine is expected to make an official announcement about the sale at Indy in a couple of weeks. And Hormel is officially out of Winston Cup racing. The Spam decals were absent from the 91 car at Pocono. Also absent was the car itself. Greg Sachs failed to qualify for today's race, but even without a major sponsor, team owner Joe Falk is hoping to run beyond the next race at Indy in 2 weeks.
Even though we've had bad luck and we've created some of the bad luck ourselves, we really expect them to stay with us.
You got Greg Sachs in through Indianapolis. Is that the deal now?
Yeah, we're going to run, basically we're committed to run the car through Indianapolis without a sponsor or with a sponsor, whatever we get. And we're working real hard to come up on some race-by-race deals. And anybody that wants to get on board with us, just give us a call.
As for Friday's qualifying, Pocono 500 winner Jeff Gordon was third fastest in practice and grabbed the early pole as the 5th car out. But 6 cars later, Dale Jarrett and the Quality Care Ford Credit Ford posted the best time at 53.647 seconds. Jarrett's joy, though, was short-lived because the next car out, Wally Dallenbach in the number 46 First Union Chevy, who was 9th fastest in practice, turned the fastest lap to that point with a speed of 168.108 miles per hour. Dallenbach held the pole until Team Sabco teammate Joe Nemechek made his run. Dallenbach calls Nemechek Front Row Joe, and with good reason. The driver of the Bell South Chevy was fastest in practice and not only grabbed the pole, but broke the event qualifying record that Mark Martin set last year. Nemechek's speed 168.881 miles per hour, good enough for his second career Winston Cup pole. His first came at the inaugural California 500 last month. Ernie Irvin gave it his best shot as one of the last cars out, but fell just short, settling kinda for second best.
Have you ever seen the T-shirt that says "Second sucked"?
You gonna be wearing that tomorrow?
Nah. You know, I tell you that these guys just keep putting good pieces under me, and I haven't had a pole in a while, especially if it wasn't a restrictor plate deal. So we needed one, but obviously just a little bit off.
And standing by with us now, the driver of the Bell South Chevrolet, Joe Nemechek. And Joe, you get the pole and a new event qualifying record and a new nickname, Front Row Joe. Talk about the nickname and the record run.
The nickname, that's a pretty neat nickname. A lot of guys get different ones, but Front Row Joe, it's pretty unique, but we've had a lot of good qualifying runs here lately. This is the 4th time that we've been on the front row this year in Winston Cup, and our Busch car's been up in the front row a few times, and it's just going to be hard to keep that nickname going. So, but I'm excited. The team's pumped up, and we just need a good day today.
Joe, the 3 previous times you've been on the front row, you've averaged a finish of 26. What do you need to do to improve and take advantage of the pole position today? We just need to finish, not have any major problems. Hopefully no parts will break or anything like that that's out of our control. If we can keep the car under us all day and we're running at the end, I think we're going to be in the top 5. Front Row Joe on the pole for this race. His teammate of Team Sabco, Wally Dallenbach, who donned that phrase, Front Row Joe, right behind him on the inside of row 2. Can Joe win from the pole? Last person to do it here at Pocono in this race, Jeff Bodine in 1994. Let's take a look now at the rest of the first 5 rows in today's Pennsylvania 500. So Joe Nemechek will lead the field later today in the Pennsylvania 500. He finished 18th when he had the pole at Fontana. Ernie Irvin starts alongside, seeking his 4th top 10 in the last 5 races. On row 2, Nemechek's Sabco teammate Wally Dallenbach is on the inside, while 95 winner Dale Jarrett starts 4th. On row 3, Dale Earnhardt starts 5th, trying to snap that 44-race winless streak. On the positive side, though, Earnhardt has completed all but 13 laps this season. Spring race winner Jeff Gordon rolls off 6th. Kenny Schrader will rev up the Skoll Bandit Racing Chevy on the inside of row 4. Schrader has never won here at Pocono. Jeff Green in the number 29 Cartoon Network Chevy with a great qualifying run. He rolls off 8th. And in row 5, Mark Martin starts 9th and stands 52 points behind Terry Labonte in the points race. And rounding out the top 10 is Bobby Labonte. He calls Pocono the Bermuda Triangle. He finished 31st here last month. His best finish here was 13th in 1994.
Don't look now, but defending Truck Series champion Ron Hornaday is charging fast. Last week's win was his 2nd straight and jumped him from 7th to 4th in the point standings. He came into Saturday's race 236 points behind leader Rich Bickle. Could he make it 3 straight and tie Mike Skinner's record of a year ago? Let's head to the action to find out. 4-time winner Ron Hornaday was on the pole for the Colorado 250 from Erie, Colorado. But it was Mike Wallace who started on the outside row, taking the lead on the very first lap. Hornaday would fall back to 5th as the Napa driver conserved his tires, a strategy that would pay dividends later on. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Brian Reffner, looked good early, charging to as high as 2nd when he passed another rookie, Tony Raines, on lap 23. By lap 62, Mike Bliss had knocked Wallace from the top spot, and 2 laps later, Hornaday catapults into the lead by splitting Chuck Bowen and Bliss. What a move. Just before halftime, Hornaday puts Mike Wallace a lap down, and the 52 truck would not challenge again. Hornaday was one of only 9 trucks on the lead lap at the break. The second half began just like the first for Hornaday, who surrendered the lead to a faster Mike Bliss with the hopes of once again saving his tires. With 20 to go, there were just 4 trucks that had a shot at the win: Hornaday, Bliss, Jay Sauter, and points leader Rich Bickle. After a late caution bunched the field together, Hornaday was quickest off the restart. The strategy had paid off as he pulled away on the strength of his tires to win for the 3rd straight time, tying Mike Skinner's record of a year ago. It was Hornaday's 4th win in the last 5 races.
Well, I'll go back to the last year I came here and ran a Winston West car here for the Strausers, and they gave me a heck of a car. And a lot of them switched to a different brand tire, and I stuck with Goodyears, and we had to do the same strategy. We almost got a lap down, and with about 25 to go, we came back and did that. So we knew what we had to do. Freddie talked about it, and Dale, Teresa, thanks again. Ty, Don Hawk, everybody back in the office, and what an awesome day again.
Behind Hornaday were Mike Bliss, rookie Stacy Compton, Jay Sauter, and Rich Bickle. It was Bickle's 11th top 5 in '97 as he increased his lead to 102 points over 2nd place Jack Sprague. We need to take a short break, but don't worry, more of Inside NASCAR is straight ahead as Ned rejoins you from Team 34 Racing. The Pennsylvania 500 is coming your way this afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern. But as we leave you, here's a look at the rest of the starting lineup. Enjoy the race, everybody.
Last week, Tyler Potter took a look at the purses in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, primarily about how the money is split up between the drivers and the car owners. This week, in continuation of that theme, he looks at the purses in the NASCAR Busch Series and also the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and compares one against the other and how all that money adds up, and even if it does.
The NASCAR Busch Series is Winston Cup's AAA league. And just like AAA leagues in other sports, they never quite get the recognition they deserve. Yes, NASCAR's top circuit has been around since 1949, while inception of the Busch Series didn't come until 1982. But does that explain the sizable drop-off in purse money? For example, last year's Busch Series totaled $8.5 million in prize money, while that same figure in Winston Cup was nearly 6 times that at $50 million. This year, the Busch Series will generate about $11 million thanks to 4 new races. But that number still pales in comparison to the Cup's expected $60 million for '97.
It's also an evolution of time. You know, the Busch Series is in its 16th year, and the costs have escalated more in the last few years than they did in the early going. The series was, when it was established, it didn't cost as much, so it didn't pay as much. Now that, you know, we're running 30 dates a year and we're running all over the country, California, St. Louis, Las Vegas, there's a need for bigger purses, and we're working on that. We've done a lot of things in the last couple of years to try to get those purses up, especially with the new races that have come on, Homestead and Vegas and Texas. Even Daytona this year paid $900,000 plus for its Busch race, and in '94 we had 6 Winston Cup dates that paid that. So, you know, that's in a 3-year period that it has evolved to that point.
And what's even more disheartening for the Busch drivers, the comparisons between their series and the Craftsman Truck Series. The Busch circuit has been around 13 years longer, yet the money is somewhat close on average between the two divisions. $374,217 in truck to $426,000 in Busch. Granted, the trucks have fewer drivers, 9 less on average per week, and fewer races, 26 versus 30 for the Busch Series, but it's still a cause for concern.
You never can have enough, but the purses haven't gone up that much, and the race fans have really probably doubled at a lot of these racetracks. So there's some kind of gap that needs to be filled there. I mean, when the racetracks were down on people, I mean, we could understand the purses were raising for. But now, I mean, when we go to Texas and Daytona and there's 110,000 people there for a Busch race, and we go to Charlotte and there's 60 and 70,000 people, and we're Rockingham, I mean, they have good crowds there, 40, 50,000 people. Well, I mean, they need to do something. I mean, you know, either give a percentage of the gate, which I doubt that'll ever happen, but the people are there, so they should pay us.
They got to keep getting bigger. I know that. It just the cost of racing keeps going up. Somehow you got to make that up, and you know, sponsorship can't keep fulfilling that whole void of cost, and the purses need to go up. You know, it's, you know, I don't know what the racetracks make or whatever, but the purses got to go up, and it's not only the front guy that has to win, but it's also the guy that finishes 42nd. Every series has their own good purses. Some of them have very, you know, bad ones, but just depends on the racetrack.
So which tracks pays the worst? Well, this year on the Busch Series, it was South Boston at $249,000, Hickory at $250,000, and Myrtle Beach at $269,000. It's no shock they were the three smallest crowds, with an average attendance around 8,300 folks. This compared to Daytona, which paid a record $945,000 and drew a near sellout crowd of 90,000 people. You won't hear many truck drivers complaining. In addition to the average race money being similar, the trucks have a better TV package and less pit crew members, which ultimately means less expenses.
NASCAR has done something great with this truck series. I just never won this kind of money in my life in racing, you know. I mean, I put all my money into my own racing Saturday nights, and, you know, we took our pennies and tried to go racing, so anything we won, we're appreciative of now. And now with this truck series, this is all I'm doing full time. I don't have to go work and get my fingernails dirty, you know, working on my garage or my shop where they used to have, but it's done some great things for my family.
As for the future of these two series, NASCAR says look for continued expansion. For not only will the circuits expand, so will the wallets of the competitors.
Hi, this is Jeff Hammond, crew chief of the Parts America Chevrolet. Many times in the course of the season, you'll be sitting at home and you see a guy run further than another guy, and you wonder, how in the world did he do that? Does NASCAR not regulate the size of the fuel cell and the amount of fuel the car can carry? Yes, they do. They do this by using this template, which slides over the fuel cell, that regulates the size of the cell and the tank, as well as the capacity. The capacity is only 22 gallons. They also regulate the size of the vent line as well as its length. The filler hose is also mandated and regulated by NASCAR. The one key element that we run into a lot of times is, well, how do they go further? They go further by fuel management. Fuel management is done by jetting the carburetor, gearing the race car, as well as the driver's ability to draft and save fuel. But one of the key elements that we don't need to forget here is the fact that if you don't pick it all up, you may be carrying 22 gallons, but if your pickup is not in the right place and working efficiently, you'll run out of gas.
There's a dandy points battle going on this year for the NASCAR Busch Grand National Championship between last year's champion, Randy LaJoie, and Todd Bodine, who drives the Stanley Tools Pontiacs. Stephanie Boyd-Durner talked to both of them about the title chase.
From the very start of the 1997 season, Randy LaJoie and Todd Bodine have been locked in a heated battle for the NASCAR Busch Series title. In the 19 races run so far this year, the two drivers have swapped the points lead 4 times and have been the only two drivers to sit atop the standings. In fact, their biggest point differential has been 99 points, with the smallest margin a mere 3 markers.
Randy's got his own theory on it, though. I'll let him explain that to you.
Well, see, we started the year off and got the point lead after we won Daytona, and then Todd come on real consistent. We had a couple bad races, and he took it back, and we're teasing him. And then when we get to Dover, he had it back again, because we got it back after Darlington, and he had it back 2 weeks later. And so we go to Dover, and they had $10,000.
Dangle that carrot out in front of me every once in a while.
Yeah, see, and then we went to Dover, and they had that $10,000 Gatorade deal, and they paid up a lot of money. And we took the money. They don't need the money. They got lots of money. So
we'll take all the money at the end.
Well, see, the next check is November, and that's the one both of us are after.
To get it, the two drivers are willing to take chances, including Bodine's effort to win at Milwaukee and retake the points lead, which instead ended when he got into a lapped car and dropped from 18 to 32 points behind LaJoie, who won the race.
They can never accuse me of not wanting to win, because that's what I was doing, going for the win. That's what they pay me to do, and unfortunately, didn't quite make it, and instead of being the hero, I was the zero, right, Randy?
I probably would have done the same thing in his shoes. we're there to win races, and we have to race back to the yellow.
The difference is you're winning them this year. See, I'm not. So.
That's why he even put more emphasis. That's right. He had to get one. And, you know, we kind of stole one last week. And but we weren't the best car, but we definitely had the best team last week. And that's what it's going to come down to, is what race team doesn't make any mistakes. What driver don't make any mistakes. I mean,
whatever team has the bad luck is the one that's going to lose. Because we're both real consistent. We got good race cars. We got good teams behind us. You know, we've both got a lot of experience. The only determining factor is going to be luck. That's the one thing that you can't control in racing, and that's what it's going to come down to.
And I was lucky the 68 car was there last week.
Now, you might think that this constant battling back and forth would promote a major rivalry, but actually, these guys are good friends.
We haven't touched each other this year.
This year.
This year.
We had problems last year, but hey, that was racing.
I was infumigated.
That's one of the things that's really making this fun for me. It's not only our friendship, but my crew chief, Clyde McLeod and Birdie, they've been friends. They race modifieds together. A lot of the guys are all from Billy Nazowitz here. You know, they were all friends a long time ago. So it's really pretty neat to have us parked side by side every week racing for this championship.
Crew chiefs talk all day long.
Yeah, we joke, kid on, carry on. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
I mean, that's what makes the Busch Series so much fun, is our team and their team, as any other teams here, we get along, we joke around. I mean, Birdie can ask Clyde, and Clyde can ask Billy, you know, what do we have and what did we make things do better? Todd asked me what we did, and I don't know. I mean, it's a situation where, you know, it's almost like it doesn't matter. I mean, whoever has the best day is going to do the best that day, and, you know, it's not just myself and Todd, you know, it's the rest of the, we got 10, 12 guys on these race teams.
And there are even more guys who would like to claim the title. Phil Parsons is 356 points out of the lead and is the only other guy than Bodine and LaJoie to hold second in points this year. Rookie Steve Park is 104 points behind Parsons, and now not all the tracks are new to him anymore.
In this deal, in Busch Grand National, you always have to look over your shoulders, because any one of these guys can win just about any week. You know, we're not the only two in the race, and we have to realize that every week. We have our own race going, but at the same time, these guys are out there to beat us and to beat the rest of the 40 cars. So, you know, we got to look over our shoulder, pay attention. You know, Phil, he'd be right there with us in this points race. He's had some bad luck, you know, and Steven, first year, rookie year, he's done great. You know, he's had some bad luck. There's been circumstances that's kept those guys out of this points race, and that's the thing that we've had, is the luck. You know, Randy's had some bad races, and I've been consistent, so we're kind of on equal ground.
Yeah, we can't give nothing up. I mean, the guys in the mirror are getting smaller. I mean, we've been so consistent. We're consistently better than the other guys. So it's the guys in the mirror are getting smaller. But if we mess up, they're going to be right back full and cover up our mirror. So, I mean, we can't slack up. I mean, we can't because of his team's right there. He can't because our team. But neither one of us can because of these other race teams. You know, I mean, I figured beginning of the year it was going to be 5 or 6 race teams come Charlotte. You know, we still got 12 races to go, and you know, 300 points back to third place is not a whole lot. So we just got to keep the ball rolling, or keep our momentum going, and keep having fun.
So who's going to win the championship?
I am.
Well, thanks, Stephanie. Todd Bodine will be going back to the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in 1998. He signed a 3-year deal. He'll announce his plans in a few weeks, and of course, we'll pass that along to you as soon as we find out. We'll be back with Ron Hornaday and much more right after this.
There's so much competition in this truck series, and you know, everybody's a champion in a different division, and for them to come out here and all try to race on the same track, everybody wants to win. So it's been tougher this year, but you try to get another year like we had in '96, and it's going to be tough to compete with that.
Before the race, I always have either tuna or turkey on wheat bread with Dijon mustard, no mayonnaise, pretzels, and an apple water to drink. And you should really eat pasta every night if you go at it like I do. I lift weights 5 days a week, and you know, the human body is not a race car. You can't tune it up the night before the race. You can't drink a gallon of water and eat a bowl of pasta, and that doesn't make you ready for the race the next day. So you have to live the lifestyle. You have to eat, you know, like you're going to race 500 miles tomorrow every day.
Usually I start a couple nights before, and I eat a lot of pasta. I guess being Italian is one good thing, but then when it comes to race day, I eat pretty light in the morning. You know, like a light cereal, probably made by Kellogg's. And then I drink a special sports drink that marathon runners drink, and then I always have a turkey cheese sandwich about an hour before I run out to the racetrack. So just so I have something to tie me over for 4 or 5 hours.
The night before the race, I usually like to go out and have a good steak, something really good, greasy. Race morning, believe it or not, I usually get up and have an old-fashioned sausage and eggs, hash browns, buttered toast, milk, coffee, you know, the old-fashioned stuff I was raised on, you know. This health food stuff is all right, but every once in a while you got to veer from that. And race day, I usually don't eat anything before I get in the race car, so I usually get up race morning and have a good breakfast, hot cakes, something like that. Something real bad for you, you know, for the race.
You heard on the news segment of our program about Darrell Waltrip's involvement with Team Twister, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and all the things that will be going on around the Brickyard 400. Of course, Darrell will be there himself in the Parts America Chevrolet number 17. He's celebrating 25 years of competition in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and here's another installment of our tribute to Darrell on his 25 years in NASCAR Winston Cup racing.
NASCAR right now, they say they want a level playing field. They say they want the competition to be equal. They want the cars, they want parity between Chevrolet, Pontiac, and Ford. But by their own admission and by their own test, the chassis dyno test, where they run the engines, Ford had 30 more horsepower than Chevrolet. They go to the wind tunnel, and the numbers were so out of balance in the wind tunnel that one guy told me that he had never seen a car as dominant as that Thunderbird was in the wind tunnel compared to the rest of the competition. That's how far out of whack everything was as far as aerodynamics go. That's NASCAR's own chassis dyno test. That's NASCAR's own wind tunnel test. They come up with the same conclusions that we see on the racetrack, that they've given too much advantage to the Ford. Chevrolet teams are penalized because of one guy, Jeff Gordon. They say, well, we can't do anything for the Chevrolets because Jeff Gordon will win all the races. Last time I looked, he won all the races anyway. So the rule changes, the aggravating part about the rule changes is costs us tons of money as car owners, puts us behind most of the time because we're trying to adjust to whatever new rule change there is. And why? To do what? The results don't change. The same guys win the races. Jeff Gordon still wins 10 races, and the Ford guys still complain. So I don't understand rule changes. So 97, I thought we would get off and we wouldn't have a lot of changes. That's the one thing I've asked them over and over and over. Give us a set of rules in January and let us race under those rules for 1 year. Don't change the rules in the middle of the year. Don't change things every time we turn around. Give us a set of rules, good, bad, or indifferent. Maybe they're going to help me or maybe they're going to help the other guy, who knows. But give me a set of rules and let me race under those rules for 365 days. Not 365 minutes.
Three-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion Darrell Waltrip. Wouldn't it be great to see him win another race before he finally hangs it up? Maybe he's not going to hang it up, but who knows what will happen at the end of the year. Hey, we'll be back with Ron Hornaday Jr., the mailbox, and lots more right after this. The Inside NASCAR mailbox is brought to you by Miller Lite. Our question today is from Steve LaRue from Bridgewater, New Jersey. Can you explain what a roof net is and what is its purpose?
Hey, Steve, that's a great question. It has to do with safety. What NASCAR has seen is they've seen a lot of cars slip down the back straightaway, such as Rusty Wallace and quite a few at Daytona and Talladega. What you would see is a roof would come off of the car. And when that would happen, the driver's arms would fly out. And when the car would flip, there was a possibility of a driver's arms getting between the roll cage and the ground. So what they've done, Simpson has made a net that goes in between the roll cage and the roof. So if the roof gets tore off, you still got the net to keep your arms from flying out, to keep you from not getting your arm pinned between the ground and the roll bar. It's been a great safety measure that they've added to these race cars, and thanks for writing in.
If you have a question for the Inside NASCAR mailbox, write to us at Inside NASCAR, Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Lite jacket and a cap and shirt from Chase Authentics, the authentic trackside apparel of NASCAR.
From all of us here at Inside NASCAR, we congratulate Buddy Baker, Jack Ingram, and the late Neil Bonnet on their election to the National Motorsports Press Association Hall of Fame. The induction ceremonies will be held on the weekend of the Mountain Dew Southern 500 at Darlington, South Carolina at the end of next month. We'll be back with Ron Hornaday Jr. right after this. '96 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion Ron Hornaday got off to a slow start in 1997 in the Dale Earnhardt Napa Chevrolet truck number 16, but he's making up for it now. Going into the race this weekend in Colorado, he had won 3 of the last 4 races. And there's reasons for that recent success, as you'll learn in this conversation Phil Wurz had with Ron Hornaday.
In 1996, Ron Hornaday had a dream season. He finished in the top 10 of 23 of the 24 races on the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Amazingly, he completed all but 2 laps of the entire season. That enabled Hornaday to claim the championship in just the second year of the series' existence. But 1997, though, has been less than dominant. Consistency early in the season has been the problem. Hornaday does have 4 wins and 8 top 10s, but he's also amassed 5 finishes of 22nd or higher. Enter Fred Graves. He was hired 4 races ago as crew chief of the Napa Chevy. The team has responded with 3 wins and a new attitude.
He's just a neat old guy. I mean, you can't say nothing about him. He's used to build chassis. I built chassis. We clicked right off the bat. That was our piece of puzzle we needed, and Fred understands the roll centers and the arm angles and, you know, shocks and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's the key picture is when I go out there and say, hey, the truck's doing this. I feel like it's on its nose. The brakes are, you know, making the thing come around. He knows where to look at it at, and the guys are just really respect him. I mean, if you have one guy in there and nobody likes him, your whole team's going to fall apart. But right now with Fred in there, everybody goes in there, and if you walk in there, everybody's got a glow on their face, or their face, I should say, and they just want to work hard, and they know what it takes. They want to win.
Well, it's an awesome team, and Ron's one heck of a driver. It was pretty easy for me, really. Everything was here, just needed to be pointed in the right direction, and I guess that's what they hired me to do, and things are working out real well for everybody.
5 races ago, Hornaday fell to 12th in the points after blowing an engine and finishing 27th in the inaugural truck race at Texas. But since then, his 3 wins, including last weekend at Louisville, has moved him to 4th in the point standings and has this team thinking title again.
You never know. We're 200 and something points behind, but it's not out of the question. But, you know, if Bickle keeps running the way he's been doing consistently top 5, it's going to be tough to beat because he's having a year like we had last year. And it happens. I mean, you just got to keep on going. If we can finish in the top 2 or 3 in points this year, and even we got a chance to win it. I mean, we're not giving up. We're going to race every race like we got to win it now. You know, we got nothing to lose other than winning races and try to finish them top 5s. But it could be happen. We can sure try.
There's no doubt the Napa Chevy will be a factor as the series ventures into the second half. Along with team goals, Hornaday realizes he's just 2 wins away from grabbing the all-time series victory lead from '95 champion Mike Skinner.
You know, Skinner's a tough racer. He put some good goals out there for these guys and these young guys to go up and beat, and hopefully we can get that. But as long as we finish in top 5 and keep bringing home championships, I think he can have the most wins. I just want the most championships.
And the road to this year's title will take the series to new markets and bigger tracks. The series has already visited Texas, and in October, the circuit visits yet another new super speedway, Roger Penske's new 2-mile track, the California Speedway. Hornaday's looking forward to Fontana, as he's a native of nearby Palmdale, California.
No telling, that's my super speedway experience. I mean, NASCAR's giving me my super speedway experience we need because of never thought a truck was going to be able to go that fast, and what, 185 mile an hour, you got to try to drive a pickup truck. It's pretty awesome. It's the ride of your life, and it's a lot of fun. Just to go back home and see all the fans and family and everybody, you know, I grew up pretty close to there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot of races out there in Las Vegas and California, and it's going to be fun to go back there.
While Hornaday pursues a second consecutive Truck Series title for himself and owners Teresa and Dale Earnhardt, he says he's certainly not ruling out a possible run at Winston Cup down the road.
I'm not getting no younger, and nobody else, everybody else is getting older too, but you got the best racers right now with the Dale Earnhardts and Jeff Gordons and Terry Labontes, and you want to be part of that just to see if you can do it. And that's a race every weekend, just to see if you can race with them. And nowadays, you're only as good as your equipment, and I feel we got the best equipment in this Truck Series, you know, by far out there. So I'm content with this Truck Series. I mean, it's done my family rather well. It's better than Saturday night racing, you know, and racing for $2,000 a week, and now this Truck Series has really made a living for my family.
It was July 22nd, 1984, stop number 18 of the season at Pocono. On that day, there were 3 drivers to watch: Harry Gant, pole sitter Bill Elliott, and the most recent winner at that time, Cale Yarborough. Gant immediately took the top spot. The race was pretty clean for most of the 40-car field, although Gant did have some trouble on pit road. Keep in mind, the tires weigh over 100 pounds apiece. The crewman was okay. With just 15 laps remaining, Skull Bandit stole the lead, going 3 wide down the 3,700-foot front straightaway. After that, the Skull driver was never headed and went on for his 4th career Winston Cup victory. Yarborough edged Elliott for runner-up. 1 year later, on July 21st, and again Elliott was in the thick of the battle with pole sitter Darrell Waltrip in the Budweiser number 11. In that race, as with any Pocono event, 3 wide is no big deal on the front stretch. That's Tim Richmond in the 27. Then Neil Bonnet in the other Bud car took his turn out front, passing the 5 of Jeff Bodine. At halfway, it was Bonnet grabbing a $10,000 bonus for leading at that point. Richmond's day ended against the wall on lap 158, leaving the race to be decided between Bonnet, Waltrip, Elliott, and Bodine. The 36th and final lead change came on lap 190 with 10 to go, as Elliott got by Bodine and then held on for his 8th out of 16 races at that point in the 1985 season. On a very foggy July 20th, 1986, a number of drivers had a shot to win, but in the closing laps, it came down to a battle between Tim Richmond, Ricky Rudd driving for Bud Moore, and Richmond's Hendrick teammate Jeff Bodine. It was a Kodak moment as the 3 cars crossed the line, and by an extra decal on the quarter panel, it was Tim Richmond taking the victory.
You know, I knew Jeff and I was dogging one another there in 3, and I thought Ricky was a little further back than what he was, and I never saw him until at the start-finish line. I looked over, and I thought it might have been a lap car, and it was Ricky, and I thought, oh my, you know, then I tried to think back, was I ahead of him or not at the start-finish line, and I didn't know, and we went into turn 1, and Ricky looked at me and said, "Did you win?" And I went, "I don't know." And I looked at him and said, "Did you win?" And he said, "I don't know either." So we both pulled up to victory lane, and I guess that Kodak film developed real quick, and I guess they said I was the winner. I'd like to say I can't wait to see the picture.
So once again this weekend, a number of drivers like Bill Elliott will try to tame the 2.5-mile 3-turn track in Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
The NASCAR Busch Series drivers and teams have this weekend off. Their next race is the Gateway 300 next week at a new track in Madison, Illinois. Well, we don't have a weekend off. We're here every weekend. Let's take a look at what we have for you right here on TNN next week on Inside NASCAR.
In his first full year on the Cranfus Haas Fords, Jeremy Mayfield is sitting an impressive 9th in the Winston Cup point standings. We'll chat with the driver from Owensboro, Kentucky to see if we can find out his secret to success. We'll also take you to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where major renovations are underway in preparation for November's Winston Cup finale. Those stories and more next week on Inside NASCAR.
Safety Clean offers some great services to the people in the garage area at NASCAR races, and they have a unique individual that travels with them. Everybody knows him as George, and he is the subject of this week's Inside NASCAR Profile.
George Fedor is retired, has been for 3 years now, yet you'd never know it by watching him on race weekends. George is a Safety Clean assistant, usually hard at work making sure oil and other contaminated waste are properly disposed of.
A drum says antifreeze. We have a drum here, contamination solvent, which is we put in brake fluid. And over here is for oil to use oil filters when they take them off the car. And this is what I try to oversee to make sure that it's put in the proper place and not thrown around the track. Everything has a home, and there's no guesswork. And it's done every track the same way. So when you say you're at 31 races a year, this is what you see.
After spending 39 years with Ray Bestis testing brakes, George then spent 3 years with Bobby Allison and 3 with Stavola Brothers before moving to Safety Clean, where he's been the last year and a half. He says it was only natural for him to come here.
When I was working with Ray Bestis and working on the A-team, Ray Bestis sponsored that car. Well, I was on the team. I used the dump motor oil, and I started to learn how and where it should go. So as things went on, and at the end of that 3-year team, we were up, and Ray Bestis was not going to re-sponsor. I said, well, I better go on and look for something. And Buddy Smith from Safety Clean Motorsport, George, I'd like to have you come aboard and give me a hand. He says, you seem to know about this stuff. You've been working with it, and you know all the people down here in the garages in the NASCAR. You'll fit in with everybody. And which was true, because I know a lot of the fellas that dumped the oil, so I knew what had to be done. And with a little more of the schooling, it benefit Safety Clean Motorsport. And that's why I'm here today doing what I'm doing.
Well, folks, our time's up for today. We hope you enjoyed the show, and our thanks to all the folks here at Team 34 for allowing us to show you around their facilities. You join us again here on TNN for more on Inside NASCAR.
Inside NASCAR has been brought to you by Milwaukee's Best. When you're looking for a different breed of beer, unleash the beast. Milwaukee's Best. Drivers, race teams, and race fans. The 1997 Simpson Race Products catalog is now available, featuring all the new products and services for 97, plus Simpson's complete line of racer and fan gear. To get your copy, call 1-800-71-RACIN and join Team Simpson today. The official vans of Inside NASCAR are Gladiator, built by Globel, the official van conversion company of NASCAR. Call 800-445-2825 for a dealer near you.